More of Ladies Can We Talk with Debbie Georgatos, right here on 660 AM The Answer.
Hey there, welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk, and appreciate so much for tuning in tonight. I wanted to mention, over this past week, I was able to spend a little bit of time with Heidi Cruz. I interviewed her last night. I recorded the interview, and we'll play that in just a moment. And, you know, Ladies Can We Talk, we work really hard to get messaging out really about this idea that we Americans have to reclaim the identity of America, and we have to be able to speak up and point out that conservative ideas are better for women. And this is one reason I love that Heidi Cruz is so involved in her husband's campaign. She's traveling with him and speaking, because this is an accomplished, brilliant, successful woman in her own right who is supporting her husband, who is mostly working full-time from home and spend a lot of time with her kids, a kind of a great combination of time she spends with her kids and with her profession. And she's really a great symbol of what the Republican Party stands for about women, that we respect the right of women to pursue their dreams and to live their lives as they choose. I can't tell how impressed I was with her. And here comes Heidi Cruz. So good evening and welcome back to Ladies Can We Talk. We have with us tonight the wife of Senator Ted Cruz, our Texas senator, who is a GOP presidential candidate. Hello, Heidi.
Hi, Debbie. How are you this evening?
Very well. How are you?
I'm terrific. Thanks so much.
You know, I want to jump in because I know you have a very busy schedule. I love that you campaign so often with Ted, so I just want to jump right into my questions. And one of the biggest things I'd love to hear from you about is, you know, I hear women conservatives just really excited about the idea that you are active on your husband's campaign, and you're such a great picture for Republican women because you're accomplished, educated, successful. It's just a wonderful image of Republican women out there. And you know, you're a managing director at Goldman Sachs and the wealth management. So the first thing I want to get at is the GOP has not done as great a job as we'd like over the years in bringing women around to voting for the GOP candidate. So what do you think about what issues the GOP could focus on, or what can they do to bring more professional women into the GOP voting ranks?
Well, thanks for asking that critically important question, Debbie. As we all know, women are such a critical part of the voting bloc, and I also believe that women are a huge part of what gets things done in our communities, our businesses, our homes. And so there is no greater honor than to be out campaigning with Ted as a woman, talking both about what I think appeals so much to women with Ted, as well as highlighting what I think this maybe new generation of women can bring to the table in terms of continuing on in the multiple roles that we have in the lives that we live. We have had incredible examples in the past of women leaders. And what I have really felt in my generation, and I've been asked questions about this, is that we are able to be wives, mothers, and have careers should we choose. And the thing that I love about the Republican Party is that this is a party of principles, not transactions. This is a party of a coalition party. We have many different views in our party, and that's okay. And we can stick with our principles, work hard to promote our principles as activists and leaders, but we are a coalition party, and I think women need to hear that message from our campaign, from Ted, from the Republican Party. And I know when I've been asked a question about what role I serve and what I should be doing, the question came to me once is, are you a traditional mother? And I said, you know, I'm the emotional center of our home. And so, yes, I believe I am a traditional woman. I love the role that women that we have. I think it's different than men. But I don't think that it excludes us from being able to choose to have careers in the home or outside the home. You know, the Democrats have done a great job of trying to limit the potential of women. They have created this war on women that is totally fictitious in my view. And I'm going to work hard on this campaign to show women in this country that women's issues are not distinct from men's issues. I think that women care about jobs, growth in the economy. They care about a better life for their children. They care about having a strong America, of protecting us and keeping us safe. They care about defending our constitutional rights, and that's exactly what Ted's running on.
You know, that some of what you're saying is so similar to what we often say on Ladies Can We Talk. I used to have the mantra that all issues are women's issues, and I think that women should find it offensive or bothersome that it seems on the left that the politicians assume there are 2 or 3 issues that can utterly sway the women's vote, and it's demeaning to women to have that. And I love what you're saying about the GOP message, that it really is a message it should embrace and include everyone, should draw everyone in, because it really touches on issues. All the issues touch everyone the same. And I love what I love that you're out there saying that for Ted. Well, you mentioned the war on women. We're talking with Heidi Cruz, the wife of GOP presidential candidate Senator Ted Cruz. You mentioned this war on women, and that was a huge thing in the last election cycle. The Democrats came up with that mantra, and it somehow seemed to stick. So, do you think that myth is going to fly this time again?
No, I don't. I think they've lost that debate. I think that women are very open to what we've seen, Debbie, is that the policies of the left have not worked. We've seen that on economics, on social issues. This country is in crisis. And we're in crisis because we've had 8 years of policies of the left, of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Do you know that 9% of the American people agree with Hillary Clinton on the issue of abortion? You know who wants us to campaign on that issue is Democrats. You know who never does campaign on that issue is Democrats. This is a total myth. The Democrats have lost this battle, and we need to come out with a positive, hopeful, optimistic message for this country, for women, that talks about what the real choices are for women. Let's talk about having choice in where our kids go to school and when we have kids and how we raise our kids, and the social liberties that are endowed upon us by this Constitution, of religious liberty, of freedom of speech. There's so many things to talk about. And the Republican Party is a party of the Constitution, and we are seeing that in this country more now than ever. And the left has trampled all over those liberties, and it has created both economic and social chaos in this country.
That is such a good point. And this argument about which party seems to be the party of no or the party of repressing people. One issue that I think that women are just it's not resonating with women around this country is the growing effort in Washington by the Democrats to say we are going to somehow cut back on gun rights at a time when people are very, very upset about security. They're concerned about Islamic aggression in America. They're concerned about their safety. It just seems like a tone-deaf message. I know this isn't an issue that we were necessarily going to spend a lot of time on tonight, but I think that message is really not going to resonate with women.
That's right. Well, this is an example of the left using every tragedy in this country to their hopes for political gain, and politicizing truly tragic issues in this country to take away our individual rights and liberties. And by breaking that down, we've seen the chaos that's ensued. The left will never miss an opportunity to try to take away our rights and impose bigger government and more federal control of things that the Constitution clearly spells out are for either individual liberties and rights, which are endowed by our Creator, or taking power away from the states. And Ted has been our foremost strong voice every time this happens, and has won over and over in the Senate on beating back those overtures by the left. And that is one of the reasons that we need to elect him as president of this country, because he has taken on every battle. There's no other candidate on that debate stage that has taken on every single issue to protect our individual rights and liberties.
Boy, I'm really glad you mentioned that. I think that's really important as this campaign goes forward for people watching and who intend to vote in the primary in their state to really watch who's actually fought the battles versus talked about fighting the battles. And that is one thing that a lot of the Ted Cruz supporters will say over and over, is he's been in the trenches and fought the battles, which that's an important thing. At this time in America's history, that we need someone who can do that, I think, for sure. Let me ask you this, though. You're going around the country with your husband on this campaign, and I think it's wonderful. What issues, when you're talking to voters all over the country, are there 2 or 3 issues that you seem to hear over and over people bringing up? Like, I want to know what you think is on voters' minds.
Yeah, well, I think the primary issue is the economy. When we have a great recession like we had in 2008, it's already been, it's already been 6 years. I guess 8 years. I cannot even believe it's been 8 years. This has gone by quickly for some and all too slowly for others. And the problem is that we have never emerged from a crisis more slowly than this one. We do not need to be 8 years later with interest rates at sub 1%, at economic growth at the slowest rate since World War II. We've never had a slower recovery, and this has hurt the most vulnerable amongst us. This has hurt people coming out of college that haven't been able to get jobs. This has hurt the elderly who are living on their savings, who haven't been able to make the income that they were before. These policies haven't worked, and I think that that's first and foremost on people's minds as we're out there. The second thing is our constitutional liberties. I have never experienced an election where people are more focused on religious liberty, and it's because there are incredibly sad, tangible examples in so many states all over this country of people being persecuted in various ways, of losing their jobs, of losing their businesses, of being jailed for acting as they believe it, which is a right of any religion, Christians included.
Yeah, it is an amazing thing. You know, this, we had recently the case of those bakers in the state of Oregon who were essentially had their business shut down and had to make a very large payment toward plaintiffs in a case involving same-sex marriage, where basically the baker owners weren't trying to tell anyone else what to do. They just wanted to be able to, to practice their religious convictions and decide they didn't want to bake a cake for a same-sex wedding. And that is just, I think that's just a shocking thing that's happening in America, in this country where we always thought religious liberty was very firmly enshrined. It's amazing.
Well, and even, in their own private business, but what about the football coach who was not allowed to pray by himself on the football field? Or about the high school graduate who told that she would be jailed if she mentioned the word God or Jesus Christ in any of her comments as valedictorian of her class. I mean, these are extreme examples that if we would have said this would happen, 20 years ago, we would have been laughed out of the room. These are extreme examples. The Obama administration removing a fire chief for a book that he wrote about the Bible. I mean, it is absolutely extreme in a way that all of us who are going to work every day and trying to raise our families just find shocking when it's brought to our attention. And this country was built on religious freedom. It was built on Judeo-Christian principles, but it was clearly stated in the First Amendment that it is a right to have freedom of religion, and Christians are being persecuted. There are a lot of religions in this country, and everyone should have the right to worship the God that they believe in and as they please.
Say for our listeners, we're speaking with Heidi Cruz, the wife of Texas Senator Ted Cruz, a GOP presidential candidate, and I know I appreciate you taking time out of your busy campaign schedule. All the cases that Heidi just mentioned relating to religious freedom we've talked about in the show before. I'll tell our listeners again, I will repost them on the Ladies Can We Talk Facebook page, because if you haven't heard about them, they're really good to know about, because it's not just an abstract concern about religious freedom. These are real cases happening in America, and it's a surprising and very negative development for liberty in America. Well, I'm going to let you go here, except for one last question, Heidi. I just would love to have you share with our listeners kind of any last thoughts about what our listeners should know about your husband, Ted Cruz.
Yes, and thank you for asking that question. I want to make sure that the listeners on this great show, and by the way, Debbie, thank you for hosting Ladies Can We Talk on Sunday nights. I think this is a terrific way for us all to get together and bind together as women across this country. There are so many issues that unify us, and we are doers, and we are believers, and we are leaders, and we are incredibly influential in our families, communities, and businesses. And so thank you for this opportunity. What I want women on this show and throughout the country to know about Ted is that he is principled, he knows what he believes, he is incredibly articulate about what he believes, and he has the courage to carry out and do exactly what he says that he will do. And I'd encourage you all to listen to what he says, not to what others say about him, but to what he says. Remember back to Ronald Reagan. He was the candidate that Washington and the media loathed. They thought he had no chance. And he put forward basic common sense American values and put strength and conviction behind them. And we turned out the coalition that is this party of women, of men and women in the business class and the working class, the professional classes. We pulled together religions of Catholics and Jews and Christians and young people. We had Democrats that voted for Reagan, and that's what Ted will do in this election. Ted is consistent. He's the only person in this race that has been a consistent, courageous conservative since before he was in politics. And I just ask each and every one of you to study his record and look at what he did before he was in this race. Who has taken on our values, fought for them, and won over and over and over? That's Ted Cruz.
Okay, and Heidi, his website is?
TedCruz.org. TedCruz.org. And I also want to tell you, he's an incredible husband and father. He's fun, he's steady, he's even-tempered, he's a movie buff, he's the most thoughtful husband that I could imagine. He's a loving, easygoing guy, and you'll never see that in the news media, but he has convictions and he'll fight for us.
Heidi Cruz, thank you so very much for calling to Ladies Can We Talk.
Thank you, Debbie. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Have a good evening. And that's our interview with Heidi Cruz and Ladies Can We Talk.